morning, everybody. Happy Monday. A happy Monday here in New York, I can tell you that. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. I welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer, Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Very good, Keith. But I could be better. I could be better because I'm watching all this chaos going on in New York City, and it's upsetting me a bit. But we'll get to it. You knew it bothered me before the show, Keith. You knew I wasn't in a good mood about it.
I got to pretend I haven't talked to you, Jack. I mean, otherwise, how do we keep the illusion?
That's a form of taunting. Yeah, you should get a penalty for that, whatever.
Well, kick me out of the show for a while. You're on your own for the next 30 minutes. Anyway, we'll start with the NHL today because we did have the NBA wrap up an interesting series in the Stanley Cup final as well. Carolina and Vegas fought it out the first four games, but Carolina had their way the last three to win this finally 4-2. 3-0 shutout last night. Tortorella's got to find a way to get his clothes back from Carolina. I don't know how he's going to do that, but Bussy with a shutout. I mean, all the right moves were made here, it seems like Carolina, as this series progressed. Players, coaches, I think they showed they were better than Vegas. You watched this whole game, Jack. What were your opinions?
I actually did. I mean, I'm not the biggest hockey fan anymore, but I watched all of Game 6 when it comes down to the Stanley Cup Finals towards crunch time. You know, it gets to be very, very interesting, obviously. And Carolina had a 3-2 lead going into the series after they'd been down 2-1. And it looked like Vegas might actually, upset them. And let me tell you what I took out of this game. It's so much on the line for Las Vegas. They go close to 19 minutes without getting a shot on goal. Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. I don't want to hear about Carolina's smothering defense, how great they played. 19 minutes? You can't put some shots on goal. And I'm not even talking about good shots, even setting up the right way. Get something going. That's like a batter in baseball who's not even fouling the ball off. Imagine a team going like 2-3 innings and not even fouling a ball off, during at-bats. And it was crazy, but it was a gutsy move by Carolina. Obviously, early in the series, their starting goalie, Frederik Andersen, was struggling a bit, but he'd had a really good regular season. And all of a sudden, they weren't scared to make a coaching move, Carolina, to Brian Busby, who was sensational the rest of the series. But what's nice at the end of the series, Keith, where the players skate around holding the Stanley Cup. Each one of them does it in order.
Yeah.
The leader of their team, Stahl, handed the cup to Anderson, who was on the bench the last few games, their goalie, so he could have the honor of being the first one skating around with it. And what's good about it, too, both goalies seem to have a great relationship. Busby, the backup, he said he wanted to play, but he felt awkward playing because of the amount of respect he has for their starter, Frederik Andersen, who he says was the guy who got him there.
Classic.
So, it was bittersweet of Anderson. He's 36 years old. He might retire now. But if he does, he goes out a Stanley Cup winner. And Stahl, who was the MVP, I mean,
oldest Conference winner.
He won in 2009. 2009, I mean, wow. 17 years apart with Pittsburgh Penguins, he won one.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's the oldest guy to win the Conn Smythe Trophy as a Stanley Cup MVP. And he's the guy who's gone the longest between Stanley Cups, 17 years. One with Pittsburgh, as you said, in 2009.
Carolina did something that I wish they would do more, even in the NFL, believe it or not. You go with the hot hand. You don't stick with the goalie. You don't stick with a quarterback because of their reputation. Whoever can give you a boost. The greatest players have bad days. It could be basketball. It could be your biggest superstar could be having a terrible shooting day. He doesn't have it that day. Sit him on the darn bench. Don't stick with him out of loyalty. You got to win the game. Keith, you got to win the game. I'll replace you if it means ratings for the show on one given day, but then I'll bring you back the next day. I mean, that we do. How are you
going to get the show started? How are you going to get the show running without me here? That's the only reason I'm here.
You get it. I mean, we got to, with the ratings, you got to win. It's about winning.
I agree. I 100% agree it's about winning, but it's a little different because the talent level in a lot of cases in the NHL, the talent level between your first goal and your second goalie isn't that great because a lot of these teams are rotating goalies now consistently. To use the NFL quarterback analogy, most of the starting quarterbacks are head and shoulders better than the guy playing behind them. Not everyone, but most of them are head and shoulders, and you're going to play the best guy. I mean, again, the hot hand, maybe in an individual game, but not for long periods of time. I think you get away with it in the NHL, not in the NFL, man.
Yeah, I see your point. If the gulf of talent is so great, I get it. If your backup isn't nearly as good as your starter, okay, but they do it in baseball all the time now with relievers coming in. But remember in the past, starters would never want to come out of a game. It would be, be considered a little bit of a demotion if you're taking them out of a game and not letting them finish. But things have changed.
I've sat here in baseball talking to you about baseball. Maybe I think about Volpe last year saying you need to sit him down and watch for 4 or 5 games, and you fought me tooth and nail. No, you don't sit him down. You don't sit him down. You ruin his confidence.
Well, 4 or 5 games you don't have to. I'm not talking about.
I think there are times in baseball you've got time to sit him down and watch. That's all.
I'm talking about if a player is struggling in a given game, he's just struggling during a given time. Look, and I don't mean to get too much off the topic. Right. James Harden is a good example.
That's a great example.
James Harden is a future Hall. I was going to give another example, but James Harden is maybe a better one. James Harden, a future Hall of Famer, without question. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, great player, but Harden, when he's struggling in the playoffs, if you have another option off the bench, you sit Harden down. You don't worry about Harden's feelings. How dare you sit me down? I'm a star in this league. I'm going to be going to the Hall of Fame, and you're actually putting me on the bench? How dare you? I mean, if another guy could produce a little more for you at that moment, you do it. It's just the way it is. I mean, listen, I would pinch hit for Aaron Judge if he's not been hitting for, let's say, 3 weeks, and you got a guy, for example, I'm just giving you an example, a guy like a Paul Goldschmidt who really has a hot hand, and he's on the bench at that moment, and it's the late innings, and I need a hit. I mean, you do.
That's never going to happen.
You do what's good at the particular moment. It's never going to happen because certain guys are legacy players, this and that. I get the whole thing. But in hockey, they get it. They're rotating goalies now. They're not worrying as much about feelings of guys.
It's a different position than, point guard in the NBA or quarterback in the NFL.
The Carolina Hurricanes. Congratulations to them.
100%.
Something, you condemn what I'm going to say if you want, but something doesn't feel right. When you think of these teams in Canada that's absolutely thirsting for a Stanley Cup, they haven't had it for a while, especially a city like Toronto with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here they hoist the cup in Carolina. But with that said, they have many players who are from Canada.
Oh, for sure.
So
I'm an original.
I kind of wonder the amount of pride the Canadians have because their fellow Canadians do go home to live in Canada, but they were representing Carolina in this case.
You would think, though, Jack, that the Carolinas winning, the Panthers winning, Tampa Bay winning, that this would help increase the audience here in the States, and it really doesn't seem to do that. The audience is better, the viewership is better when original six teams are involved.
No, I don't think the viewership is better. I think hockey, we always put hockey as one of the four main sports. I think hockey's got to get treated as a separate entity. And I'm going to tell you why, Keith, because the majority of us, the majority of people who are avid sports fans, they follow baseball, football, and basketball, but they don't follow hockey the same way they do those three. Now, if you put all four of those sports together, you don't tell me you know what cases where fans in the United States are going to like, for example, baseball, football, and hockey, but not follow basketball, or not follow football, not follow baseball, but put hockey in the bracket of three. It just doesn't happen.
There's a couple people I know that I could probably put into that bucket, but not many. And they're a little bit different. They're a little bit different.
But if you do put them in that bucket, they're primarily hockey fans first.
Almost exclusively.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count because they're primarily hockey fans and maybe like a couple of other sports. I want to see someone who's primarily either baseball, football, or basketball fan. That's their primary sport. And then of the three remaining sports left in the Big Four, they put the two others, hockey's one of them.
Oh, I see.
The two others. It just doesn't happen. It's a separate entity type sport.
Listen, I'm the first to admit I'm a fair weather fan. When the Rangers are good, I'm much more involved in hockey. I know what's going on. When the Rangers
absolutely.
I'm really not.
The Rangers were playing and they went on this run the way the Carolina Hurricanes were, there'd be, the avid celebrations out there.
And the ratings would be much better too. Sorry, rest of America, but it'd be better. I think the next year prove that point. So anyway, congratulations to Carolina. As much as I've sung the praises of John Tortorella in this series and in this playoff run, he was badly outcoached by Brendan Moore, I think, the last 3 games. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know whether Tortorella's coming back for Las Vegas. He took over with 8 games left in the regular season. They went on this great run to win the cup, and they might run it back with them. I mean, do they want to run it back with them, Las Vegas? They obviously hired him. They wanted him to be their coach. But is Tortorella, especially at his age, I think, what is he, 68 or so? Is he a long-term solution? That's the question.
He's not the long-term solution anywhere he's ever been.
Yeah,
he'll burn his bridges pretty quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be back. He'll probably be back to start the year, I would think. And I guess Rick is right. Jim Beringer, he's a hockey reporter, though, quite frankly. So, but he's also a big fan of.
That's okay. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah,
I think Rick missed the point.
I think I did in the beginning. I get what you're saying.
In the beginning, my point is this: someone who's primarily a fan
of one
baseball,
sport,
football, of one sport, baseball, football, or basketball. Chances are they're going to be a fan also of 2 of the 3 other sports, and it won't be hockey. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to say. Well, this is kind of complicated. Let's move on.
We're only talking about professional sports, but if we're including all sports, I'm probably going to include college football and basketball.
I'm not getting into that. I'm talking about the Big Four. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey. I'm not talking about college.
College football is bigger than pro basketball.
Yeah, NFL, is bigger than hockey. That's all I'm talking about.
College football has to be bigger than baseball.
College football into it, and you yourself and your scouting hasn't exactly been that great in college football. You called Will Levis the next great quarterback. You're too dismissive of Trinidad Chambliss, who's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, Keith. So, there's really something to be desired as far as recognizing talent.
So, Trinidad Chambliss will not be a Hall of Famer. I will stand by that one. I will take my I'll take your spears when it comes to Will Levis, because that has not worked out. Listen, you got to take big leaps sometimes, and sometimes you fail. That's all. It's not a big deal. So anyway, as you said, let's move on. Let's move back to the NBA. The Knicks, again, to kind of maybe not wrap up, but
not wrap it up. It's new stuff. You want to wrap it up and move on from the Knicks? Come on.
No, that's not what I mean. You try to put a bow on it is what I'm saying, Jack. You didn't let me finish wrap it up and put a bow on it. I'm not putting it away. I keep my Christmas presents out for a long time.
Enjoy this.
Jack,
enjoy this championship.
I'm still playing with my Christmas gifts now. So yes, when I get my Christmas gifts, I keep them for a while. But this Knicks, again, people are. Well, let's touch on your point first. The post-game celebration, where it was, by the way, there was a lot of Knicks fans in San Antonio. They tried their best to keep them out of that building, but they didn't seem to do a very good job. But we talked about it after games 3 and after game 4, the fan violence, if you will, in the streets. And we worried about them burning down the city. Now, they didn't burn down the city, but they burned up a school bus. 63 people ended up in the hospital, including some cops. And, fans are just too rowdy. I know you think, go ahead. I'm going to let you go now. As I've set you up.
I'm not talking about inside Madison Square Garden. Whenever the Knicks play, the crowd is fine. There's never a problem. The majority of people on the streets celebrating the Knicks aren't Knicks fans. They might like the Knicks, don't get me wrong. They're not Knicks fans. The majority of people on the streets who are celebrating, going to these watch parties, they've maybe watched 2-3 games the whole season.
Hold on.
Okay? So I don't want to get a little carried away with Knick Nation. What I'm disgusted about this fan behavior going on. It's totally out of hand, and it was predictable. It was absolutely predictable. But let me tell you what outrages me, what someone said to me yesterday, and I've had enough of it. I don't want to hear, cut it out, Rick, okay? I mean, with the nonsense. I mean, I love you, Rick, but cut out the nonsense. Don't post stuff like that while I'm having a serious talk. Keith, I mean, come on.
I gotta put it up there, Jack.
No, because this is a serious matter. It's not a joking matter, and that's what the problem is. People aren't taking this
I'm taking it very seriously
enough.
Very seriously.
And the answer is going to be that they're saying that this doesn't represent the majority of the people. I have no fear. It does represent the majority of the people.
Jack,
it does represent the way New York thinks.
Time out. This is why I put up something funny, because this is comical when you tell me that this is the majority of Knicks fans, but 2 seconds ago you said none of these people are Knicks fans.
No. I'm telling you why. You have a man in New York City who fluffs this off, this fan violence. All he says, no, this is wrong. Police officers should be treated with respect. No one should be attacked. Of course he's going to say that. What else is he going to say? That I back the violence up? This is an elected official by the majority of the residents, okay? The majority of the people voted this mayor in by an overwhelming margin. Meaning they backed his policy. They knew what he was all about beforehand. And to see what's going on, buses getting burned, people getting attacked, officers getting attacked, okay? I mean, looting, property damage, and we're seeing this. I hate to say this. This is the real New York. This is the real New York. And people don't want to face it. So they hide behind the term, this is the majority, or they make jokes about it. Like when I'm talking now, and Rick is the greatest guy. Rick knows how fond I am of him.
Well,
but the problem is, Keith, that people are apologists for this behavior.
I'm not apologizing for anything. I'm not apologizing for their behavior. It's not the majority. It's not the great majority of Knick fans, number one. I said it colors Knick fans in a bad way because it's not the majority of Knick fans. And you already said it. These guys aren't even Knick fans for the most part that are out there. And also, as far as New York, yes, it does give New York a black eye. But how many people are in New York? How many people were involved in these situations? It's still a very small, again, it's a lot of people. I get it. But it's a small percentage of the overall population of New York is involved in this type of activities. And these activities, by the way, are abhorrent. They're awful. They should throw the book at these people, not community service, jail time. That's so there. I mean, again, I still think both things can be true at the same time.
But it is a reflection of what New York City is about, unfortunately. Keith, you don't, I mean, do you get things like this in other cities? Sometimes. It depends.
Almost every
it depends. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. The Knicks fans went to San Antonio. And don't tell me if you heard of one little instance of someone getting harassed. When Knicks fans attacked, were they in danger of going to the arena in San Antonio? But I'm going to guarantee you this. If the fans in San Antonio went to Madison Square Garden and then left the arena, their lives are going to be in danger. I would tell them not to go, but the Knicks fans can travel elsewhere. They went to Cleveland. They even went to Philadelphia. And I don't want, but could the San Antonio fans have come to MSG and watched the game? Could they have left their home? Could they have left their hotel with a San Antonio Spurs jersey and cap on? Could they have walked into the garden, left the garden and been safe? Absolutely not. They would have walked past the mob of people. They would have gotten attacked, conceivably killed.
You think that's indicative of the majority of the people in New York City?
It's indicative of New York City.
Wow.
And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's indicative. Because New York City doesn't put a stop to things like that. Believe me.
Oh, that's fair.
If the penalties would be harsh, and people in the streets would know what's awaiting them, they would not do that. They would not do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not for sending a kid who does something stupid, like jump on top of a car and then jump off, giving him 2 years in jail. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crazy off the bat.
90 days do the next thing. How about 90?
There's got to be a penalty for that, but within reason. Don't get me wrong.
Not community service.
But you set a school bus on fire? That's arson. What are the penalties in the book for arson? What happens if someone went out now and there's a parked school bus and they light it on fire? What would be the penalties in the book? Enforce what the penalties are. A police officer is arresting someone, and you come over and you hit that officer. I want you have to be up on an assault charge.
100%.
What's the penalty for assault? And I want that enforced. But we don't get it enforced because we have a mayor who says, we have passionate people in New York. They shouldn't do that, but they're passionate. Come on.
No, they're not passionate. Those people are criminals. I agree 100%, and you should be prosecuting those people. But I feel like your problem is, and rightfully so, by the way, is with the city and not with the people of the city. Now, yes, they elected this administration, but this is not new either. This has gone on for decades. Look at remember the blackout in '77 when they burned down the Bronx. So
and the people in the streets, are the majority of them celebrating the Knicks winning the championship? No. Let me tell you why the majority. First up, the majority. If you look carefully, it's young people, and it's a night out, Keith. It's a happening. It's something to do. And I don't put it down, Keith. If I was 22 years old, myself and my friends, that's where we would be. We would be in Manhattan. We would be on the streets. We would be in the crowd. I wouldn't be doing any of the violent nonsense, but we'd be amongst the masses. And could I tell you something? And the majority of my friends are not sports fans, believe it or not. They're not. But they would have gotten into this whole Knicks thing. They would have been excited for the Knicks. Never mind, they maybe wouldn't have watched one game all year until the finals. Okay? But it would be the place to be. That's fine. That's fine. You go out and celebrate. But now it goes a step further. You have some bad apples in that crowd. Some bad 100%. Apples who it gives them their chance to rob, cause property damage, fight, do this, do that. And now that's what gets out of hand. And I'm going to tell you something. I would seriously consider canceling this parade Thursday. I mean, because I question how peaceful it's going to be. Is it worth it? I question that because there's a police commissioner in New York who doesn't get along with the mayor. Doesn't get along with the mayor. The mayor doesn't back the police department. And she even gave a pep talk to the police department, a couple of months ago. Keep doing your job. I have your back 100%, even if the loudest voice in the room, meaning the mayor, doesn't. That's what you got in New York. So I don't want to hear it's a minority because the majority elected this Mayor Mamdani, the majority. And that's what you got to live on. And that's what he represents with this. I mean, I want to hear him say, those who did this, those who attacked police officers, those who caused property damage, take my word, we are going to prosecute them to the full extent of the law and warn people, you better not do this because I'm going to personally see the law comes down on you as hard as could be. But no, he's not going to say that because he doesn't believe it.
Yeah, but Jack, I think we're on the same side of this argument, actually, because, again, I totally want these people prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And your issue is more with the administration than it is with the people of New York City, right? I mean, it's not the majority of people. Even if it's 10,000 people, it's a small percentage of the people that are actually.
Keith, the whole New York City is not going to be on the streets.
Obviously,
Keith.
Don't put everybody in the same bucket with a bunch of thugs. That's not fair. That's not fair to the majority of the people in New York City.
You could get the worst thugs, and you can ask them, is it all right to just walk up to a police officer and punch him in the face? And 7 out of the 10 thugs would say no. It's wrong to do. I understand it's wrong. So I don't want to hear that. Listen, I want to clear one thing up. About me with the Knicks, okay? I've always rooted for the Knicks. I'm a Net fan, but I've always rooted for the Knicks. There was never a moment where I didn't root for the Knicks from the time, I became a sports fan as a kid.
Okay.
You can be a fan of a team, but want the other team to be well in your city. I'm going to make the best comparison, Keith. It's the equivalent of the Nets would be my son and the Knicks would be my nephew. It would be that type of thing. You root for your nephew. You want him to do well. It's not quite the same as your son, but you're still rooting for the nephew. So so the teasing of me, he's just jumping on the Knicks bandwagon. Now, I'm not a Knicks fan per se.
Well, now you're trying to get all your non-sports friends on that.
No. It's not like the Knicks. I don't take the attitude my team won, and I'm not as big. Listen, I'm a big Yankee fan. I'm a big Jet fan. I was never a big Net fan in comparison. Let me just make in comparison. The Jets and the Yankees are my teams. Okay? The gulf between the Knicks and the Nets is small. To me, between the Jets and the Giants, it's big. The Yankees and the Mets, it's big. And I also want to see the Giants and the Mets do well. I'm not a fan of either team. But I don't want to hear this that I'm jumping on the Knicks bandwagon and so on. And but it's okay that Rick and some other people give me a dig about the Knicks.
Okay for Rick.
Me. That I'm okay with, but not when
me.
I'm in the middle of giving, a serious discussion.
You gotta relax.
And violence, because to me
relax.
that's very serious. That's very
serious. Listen, it is very serious, and when I joke around, that doesn't mean I don't. Things are serious. So again, things are going to go up when they go up, because otherwise they get lost. And
now if the Patriots had won the Super Bowl and they were rioting, you know what you'd say, Keith? It's wrong. I disapprove of it, but they're passionate.
I would not say that. I would never say that.
You're flubbing it off a little.
Wrong. Jack, I just sat here and said to you, all of these people should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Wait.
Thing about Patriot fans, I would say the same thing about Yankee fans. I would say the same thing about any fan. It's got nothing to do with with being soft. Believe me.
Listen. I got a confession. I'll tell you very quickly. There was once when I was teaching that there was this kid who did something bad. He was completely out of line. He was brought into the dean's office. I happened to be there. And I said to the dean, the dean was a big Jet fan, as I am. And I said to the dean, the kid had on like a Jet jersey. And I said to the dean, you got to give him a little slack. Look at the jersey he has on. The dean gave him a little slack. He penalized him, but it wasn't as harsh. I said, look, it's got to count for something. Make it a little easier. Look what he has on.
I'll tell you something funny. And I'll preface this with something that isn't as funny. But again, I think your big problem here, and I agree with you 100%. Your problem was the people who put Mandami in office, and I agree with you 100%.
No, political. That's fine. They voted for him.
Let me tell you the funny part. I'm not trying to get into a whole thing about Mandami, because again, I wouldn't vote for him if you held a gun to my head. I'd let you pull the trigger. But I put a post when I shared the show. There's clips that get cut out, and I share the clips, and they get a lot of views. And I don't know what we were talking about. I don't remember the topic, but some guy commented, looks like, and I don't know which of us he was talking to, because sometimes you're on top of the thing and I'm on top other times. He goes, it looks like the guy at the top voted for Mandami. It was his comment to whatever we were talking about. And I'm pretty sure neither one of us did, but.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not putting down the people who voted for Mamdani. Vote him for mayor. Fine, but there's accountability. You know what he's standing for in cases as far as, backing the police officer, acting up in these violent protests. I want to see Mamdani just say to people, come down and force the darn law. Be tough on, these violent acts, but we know he's not. So, and the majority voted for him. That's the point I'm trying to say. But listen, we milked that out. You know the way I feel. I know the way you feel. I hope we have a peaceful parade. I just hope there's a peaceful parade. That's all I could say.
I agree. And I don't know, quite frankly, that there's ever been the same type of violence from during a parade or after a parade as there is after the victory of these series. So I don't know that there's going to be the same issues. Hopefully there's not. And again, I think we're more on the same page than we probably think, or.
Yeah.
In any event, we're still basking in the afterglow of this victory. A couple things I want to touch on here. Wemby needs, I know he's 22 years old. I know he needs to mature. He needs to mature a lot. Never congratulated the Knicks even a little bit. Never gave any indication the Knicks, deserve this championship. He said yesterday, after the game in his presser on Saturday, he said that they dominated the series until they didn't. He said it was all their mistakes. We gave it away. Now, at least he took some responsibility for giving away, making mistakes, not good time management and things like that, but never crediting the Knicks even a little bit. And then he walks out of his press conference yesterday with a shot kind of at the reporters saying, pretty much, I'm done here. I'll see you never. Like, this kid needs to grow up. And by the way, that's after he guaranteed basically we'll win, and everybody knows we're going to win this after game 4. He's just gotta, some of that goes a long ways, and this really feels petulant on his part, like a child.
Yeah, you want to know something? Maybe we're judging him to an extent because of his size. I remember once like working with kids. There was one kid that was so much bigger than the other kids for his age. And I didn't realize I was tending to treat him a little differently because of his size. And then someone pointed out, well, he's the same age as the other kids, and that kind of reeled me in all of a sudden. And if he wasn't so big and he wasn't such a star player, maybe we'd look at it a little differently. We expect Wemby to be like the spokesman for San Antonio, basically. We hang on every word he says. I look at his teammates. They all seem to like him. There doesn't seem to be any resentment. He doesn't seem to be a prima donna. You see him put his arm around the coach. It's not like he's wielding his power like I'm a star. It has to be my way.
Feels that way when he talks to the press, though.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. He's got to be told a certain way. He blew the press off one game. He was warned by Commissioner Adam Silver. Now, what is the difference between Wemby and your guy Bill Belichick talking to the press? Do you ever say that Bill Belichick is a complete jerk? He's got to be this, he's got to be that. But Belichick is like that. Bill Parcells was like that.
But Belichick doesn't say anything. That's different than saying what. And again, I'm not saying that's okay. It's just him. But Wemby's just disrespectful in my mind and not mature. Wemby
was also upset. Look, the difference is involved if you don't shake someone's hand. We had James on the show yesterday. He's an apologist for Isaiah Thomas, no matter what he says.
He's a punk.
And the time the Pistons, when they walked off the court and didn't shake the Bulls' hands, maybe it was justified to an extent because Michael Jordan had said in the newspaper, everyone's going to be glad when the Pistons are gone. And the Pistons maybe took that personally and they walked off. And maybe it was justified to an extent. You can argue that case. But the point is to draw a comparison to the Boston Celtics leaving the Pistons floor because they knew the fans were going to mob it and doing it for security reasons. It's like night and day. What happened at the end of the Knicks Spurs game? Things were out of whack. Too many people stormed the court. I mean, where was security? No one talks about that. It wasn't players only. And before you know it, there's such a crowd, it's easy to walk off the court because you have to get through a maze to Knick players to meet them. It's not like the Stanley Cup finals where the ice is clear. After one team celebrates, the players can meet and shake hands. It's not the same. But Wemby afterwards, you're right. Did he say anything to congratulate the Knicks? He says, we totally dominated. But is it much different? Let me ask you, Keith, from what Kenny Atkinson, the Cavalier coach, said, according to analytics, we're up 2-1. I'm paraphrasing.
That's stupid. Right, that's stupid. And what Wemby said is stupid as well.
Atkinson should know better. He's polished. Wemby's 22. He lacks the maturity, but also, let me ask you this too. Have my expectations for him been more than they should be? Have I been unfair to him? Because I was saying after game one against OKC, this guy's on his way to being the greatest player of all time. I mean, I jumped the gun. He's going to be one of the greatest players. That's safe to say. I mean, if Wemby is not at least a top 10 player of all time, we'll be surprised. Is that fair to say?
I'd be surprised.
Right. But Wemby, he's not exactly Superman. He hasn't given you 48 full minutes. He seems to fade in the second half of the game or towards the end. Is it his conditioning? Is it character? Is it drive at that point? Does he use all his nervous energy early in the game? I don't know.
I start to wonder, and again, I know he's 22 years old, but he's been on this stage for a while now. It's not like this is his first year. He's been here 3 years, right? He's had time to mature to a certain extent. And I think I start to wonder if it's not a character thing. When you look at the comments, when you look at it, the way some of his antics on the floor, unnecessary stuff, just cheap shots that don't need to be taken. He does too much of this stuff. And Rick points out something about coaching. I agree. He's got a young coach inexperience. That hurts Wemby. But I don't think sometimes, hold on. It's not just coaching, though. They don't have a strong veteran presence on that team at all. That's what controls these things in the locker room. Somebody gets in his ear. It's got to be a player. It can't be a coach. It's got to be a player. And Darren Fox is not that guy. They need a veteran presence on his team to, number one, help them when they start to melt down on the floor, and also help them when they're off the court.
Yeah, but Rick, you mentioned coaching that Rick is mentioning is lacking on both on or off the court for Wemby. Mitch Johnson is a young coach. Yeah, sometimes you have to give these young coaches a chance to grow. The Spurs shouldn't fire Mitch Johnson. I mean, he should continue coaching him, let him grow on the job. Also,
he needs a better presence on it. He needs a better presence in that locker room. I agree with you.
I understand. But sometimes you have a young core. They're going to grow together. And if you want a prediction, I think Dylan Harper is going to grow into the leader of that team. I really do. Wemby's always going to be the best player, even though Dylan Harper is going to turn out to be a great player, I think. Wemby's always going to be the focal point, okay, of that team. As great as Dylan Harper is going to become, and Stephen Castle, I think, would be outstanding as well going forward. But so I think the core can all grow together. I think they can all grow together. But to bring in a veteran, it could be good, but not necessarily for the playing time per se. And you can't force mentors on players. You just can't. Look, they tried that with the Lakers. They get Karl Malone and Gary Payton. And both of them are talking about the way they're going to mentor Kobe Bryant. Oh, I'm going to get my locker next to him. I'm not letting him out of my sight. You know what Kobe said to both of them? Basically, he said, bleep you to both of them. I need you guys to mentor me. I'm a great player. I'm better than both of you guys. No. Or Dick Hauser giving Reggie Jackson tips on batting, and Reggie said, how many home runs did you hit in your career, Dick? He went 48. And he says, okay, that's your whole career.
Well, that's a good point.
He doesn't need a mentor, Wemby. The core can grow together, but he needs to be counseled on certain things. I mean, had he gone to the Knick locker room after, say, hey, congratulations, guys, and then joked around and said, I'll see you next year in the finals, that would have been okay.
He could have done it at the press conference. He doesn't even need to go into the locker room. He doesn't need to go to the locker room. He could just say it at the press conference. And he could throw it in at the end.
Was classy. He said the Knicks were the better team. Classy guy, and Mitch Johnson, I'm going to tell you, I could see the Spurs. If you're asking me right now, my prediction, it would be for next season, it would be the Spurs over the Knicks in the finals, right at this moment, because the Spurs are going to be 1 year better. And let's be honest, Keith, the Knicks had a magical run. You usually don't have magical runs like this more than 1 year in this type of fashion. The Knicks won, 15-1 to close out the year? And even their one loss was by 4 points.
Hey, listen, this team, and since we're on that topic, there are already the couple of the betting sites have the odds out for next year, and the Knicks are a distant fourth behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's number one. The Spurs were number one. The Thunder are number two. The Celtics are number three, and Knicks are.
How do you justify the Celtics right now being rated ahead of the Knicks? I don't quite do that.
I'm not sure how you do
it. But I'm going to say this. If Giannis has been linked possibly to the Celtics, There's been a lot of talk. If the Celtics get Giannis without giving up Tatum and Brown, they're the favorites in the East as far as I'm concerned, as long as they all stay healthy. If they have that type of big three, that type of firepower.
Yeah. I'm not going to get all worked up over who's favored, by the way, because I'm just soon not be favored and come,
but
on people.
You know what's great about a Knicks championship? Relax, fans. You can get bumped out of the playoffs the next few years in a row. Take it all in. You're the NBA champions. It hasn't sunk in yet. Think of it, Keith. NBA champions. You don't think of the Knicks along that way.
Well, a couple of generations have never seen this, Jack. A couple of generations have never seen this ever. So again, that's why, and I also think it kind of leads me to my next thought, because we talk a lot about recency bias a lot of times, right? I think, listen, Jalen Brunson's a great, great player, but he's not the greatest Knick of all time. He's not. And I don't think it's Patrick Ewing either. I think he passed Patrick Ewing. But I think Walt Frazier will always be the best. Won 2 championships. And they didn't win for a long time after they shipped him off to Cleveland, by the way. So I still think it's Clyde. And Brunson.
I saw Clyde Frazier play in his prime. I saw him play in college. I saw his whole career. Patrick Ewing is the greatest Knick of all time. I mean, then after that, if you want to talk about a big four, you talk about, in no particular order, you could talk about Reed, Frazier, Brunson can join the conversation, the top few of all time. Listen, Rick Brunson, his dad, brought up the topic while they were being interviewed post-game. He's sitting next to his son, and he said, let me just put it out there, Patrick Ewing was the greatest Knick. I love my son, he said, because he was Patrick Ewing's teammate. He volunteered that out of the clear blue. And Jalen Brunson, who watched Patrick, well, I can't say he watched him that much as a kid.
Well, he was around the team as a kid. He talked about being around the team.
And Jalen Brunson kind of nodded his head because it's true. It's true. You're putting Jalen ahead of Patrick Ewing. Had John Starks hit that three-pointer in Game 6, playing the Houston Rockets, Patrick Ewing would have had an NBA championship. Would you have then said Patrick Ewing was the best based on that thin line on that one shot?
Then, yes, because recency bias is so strong. That's going to drive the narrative.
It's strong recency bias.
And, Brunson's great. And unfortunately, Rick Brunson's not going to drive this narrative. It's going to be the press. And I saw no less than 3 articles yesterday just in a Post saying Brunson's the best Knick of all time.
Yeah, but you got to wait till the career is over.
I agree.
I'm going to tell you this. Brunson had the second, you could argue, the second greatest full game of all time that any Knick player had. And I'm not talking about Carmelo Anthony's 60-plus points, because we're talking about a playoff spot.
Frazier was better in Game 7.
Frazier was number one, the 36 points, 19 assists, 7 rebounds, shutting down Jerry West in the Game 7.
In an elimination
was number one. Brunson's was the second best. I get all that. But early in the series, Brunson would be struggling. He would close some games wrong. He was struggling, and there was talk about him messing up the offense a little bit, they were too dependent on him, and he wasn't quite getting it done.
Yeah.
And even Brunson it seemed like he was making an excuse. He was saying, well, I played better and I played worse. Like trying to take a little of the burden off him in a sense. And even Stephen A was saying Brunson's trying too hard to be MVP, and it's hurting his game. But
he pretty much played his game, though. I think he played his game pretty much. I mean, there are times where he dominates the ball, and there's times where he kind of, keeps the ball moving. But there's times he just kind of, again, sometimes it works out like it did in Game 5 because he dominates the ball.
About Brunson, that do we appreciate him as much as we should?
I do.
Because no. I'm going to give you, what we were talking about before, Keith, around the league. You give every team a chance in the NBA to either have Luka or Brunson. You could pick one of them. If the majority of the teams, well, are going to pick Luka still.
Probably.
He doesn't play
he doesn't
defense,
play enough.
Luka.
He doesn't play enough, so I might take Brunson, but I'm also going to be biased. So you have to take unbiased.
The majority are going to pick Giannis.
I agree.
I mean, the majority are going to pick Tatum.
Jack, this guy didn't finish in the top 8 in the MVP voting. How can that be even possible?
He's not, you kind of wonder, is Brunson, despite this NBA championship, outside of New York City, going to get his due as a great all-time player? And he shouldn't be rated an all-time player now. But let's see how the rest of his career unfolds. But I could throw names at you. Allen Iverson, most people's perception will be Iverson is great. Isaiah Thomas is greater. Magic Bird is greater, et cetera. Brunson,
I'm not putting him
doesn't quite get his due.
I'm not putting him in a list of all-time greats, right? I'm not going to do that. But look at even in the Knicks, the great pantheon of Knicks players, and Frazier's number 1 to me. If Brunson goes out and wins another championship in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, well, then maybe he elevates himself.
And as an honorable mention should go to Earl of Pearl Monroe, who completely sacrificed his game for the sake of winning. Monroe at his best, he enters the discussion.
Hello, Linda. Good to have you with us. He does. I think he does, Jack. I think he really does. And he's there now. He's worth having a conversation. By the way, I don't think it's really a diss to Jalen Brunson to say, Walt Frazier is better than you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, listen, you can make an argument to Willis Reed, perhaps. You could do that.
Reed's in the top 5.
Willis Reed always said Patrick Ewing was the greatest Knick. Patrick Ewing was the greatest Knick of all time. But if you want, in my view, but how do you compare Keith? Totally different type of players.
Oh, I agree.
So how do you really compare? And look, Jack. Ewing wasn't quite as good as Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. Jabbar, he just wasn't quite on that level. He could compete with those guys. Those guys didn't outclass him. You could say he could get in the same car with those guys and ride, but he'd be in the back seat, Ewing.
He never had the running mates the guys you just talked about had. He never had that number 2, that great number 2. He had played on good teams. Never had a great number 2.
Yeah.
Right, not as good as these guys for sure.
No. Who was Ewing's greatest number 2?
It's
Oakley.
Oakley, Starks for in spurts. So he was such a streaky player. I can't call him. He doesn't even get in the same conversation.
When we look back at look at Jalen Brunson's. Who's his primary number 2? Is it Towns or Nobe? Who's his primary number 2?
I think it's Towns. I'd have to say it's Towns. As much as I love OG, I think it's Towns.
But let's combine them as a package. Towns and Nobe, and let's compare them to Oakley and Starks.
Better.
Which set would you rather have? The
Towns and OG for sure.
Yeah, okay. Which should tell you a lot. I mean, if Ewing had Towns and Anunoby, would he have been better off? 100%. Well, Ewing also had Anthony Mason. And Mason, who would you rather have, Mason or Mikal Bridges? I think Mason.
Probably Mason.
More so.
Probably Mason.
Yeah, so it's a hard one, the comparison.
Yeah. And I don't mean disrespect to Patrick Ewing either. I mean, again, championships mean something, and I think that's the one thing. So you're saying
Ewing is the 3rd greatest Knick of all time in your view?
Yeah, I think right now he is.
Brunson, Ewing, and I guess you put Reed 4th.
Probably Reed 4th. Maybe DeBusschere 5th, actually, but
yeah.
DeBusschere doesn't get enough credit because that team didn't win until he got there. He doesn't get enough credit. He wasn't the greatest player, But he had as much impact as anybody on them winning.
The rebounding, the toughness he gave them. You know, the Busher was the Knicks version of what Kevin McHale was to the Celtics.
That's a good comparison for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good topic. We ran through a lot of stuff here today. Anything we want to touch on real quick in
baseball? Keith, I want to remind you the Yankees have the Rays. You were worried about it, whether they catch them by the summer. You weren't so sure. You were a little nervous. Relax. The Rays are no threat to the Yankees in the long run over the course of the whole season. Now, the Rays might retake first place at some point, but don't worry about them, Keith. I'd be more worried about Toronto, but the Yankees have such a big lead over Toronto, Baltimore, and Boston. I love it.
I would worry about Toronto more as well. In the American League, I worry about Toronto and Seattle and really nobody else, because to me, the rest of the league is not very good. And the Yankees are winning. The pitching has been great. We knew pitching and defense was what's going to have to keep this team alive through these injuries.
I think we could have a Yankee Dodger, rematch in the World Series, but getting by the Dodgers. Why do we have to have an elite team like the Dodgers? I mean, I think. What could I tell? I think they're winning it the third year in a row this year.
They're very good. They are. They don't feel like they've hit on all cylinders because Tucker hasn't really played great. Ohtani's just hitting his stride now, and now he's hurt a little bit. But they still got the second best record in baseball.
And I'm going to tell you, if the Yankees starting pitching is in peak form come playoff time,
pitching's
that
good.
Rotation, there's not a better starting rotation in baseball than the Yankees. I mean, when you think of the 4 starters they could throw at you in the playoffs, Schlitter is outstanding.
Absolutely.
Max Fried is outstanding. Garrett Cole's outstanding. Carlos Rondon is very good. I mean, if those guys in peak form, the Yankee bullpen, though, is a little Bednar's not bad. He's okay, but I'm a little nervous with the bull. They don't have a shutdown bullpen.
No.
They have an okay bullpen, but it makes you a little nervous.
There's not a guy that comes out of that bullpen that I don't hold my breath when he comes in.
I mean, not a guy who you're thinking of a shutdown type closer, middle reliever, but they're okay. But I think Brian Cashman will make a move again. And
real quick, Danny's a Dodger.
I picked the Dodgers to beat the Yankees in the World Series in the beginning of the year.
If they're pitching healthy, it's very good.
Dodgers are great. What could I say? I mean,
I did come up with a new reason. I did come up with a new reason to hate Aaron Boone this weekend, though, because he fell asleep during Game 5, the Knicks Spurs. So come on, Aaron.
Aaron Boone?
Yeah, he fell asleep during the game. He said, "Come on."
Was he in the arena?
No, he was watching it on TV in his hotel. So he just he said he fell asleep. They asked him what he thought of the Knicks winning. He thought it was great, but he didn't see the end because he fell asleep. Come on, Aaron.
Sometimes it's best not to be honest. Don't lie, but just avoid saying certain things.
How can I get him to go to sleep in the dugout? Go to sleep in the dugout. We'd be better off than you sleeping during the Knicks games. That's all I got to say. On that boxing, Jack, you got the glove fist tonight with Frank.
I mean,
these two this weekend, weren't there?
Yeah. Well, Saturday night, Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez, one of the best pound for pound fighters. He won his fight 6th round stoppage, but unfortunately, it was going on during the Knicks game. I mean, I didn't even watch it.
Yeah,
I wasn't even. And then when the Knicks post game show was going on, I tuned in to take a little peek, but the fight had ended by that point. And, that the latest talk we're going to talk about tonight is the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight, which is supposed to be the biggest fight in UK history between 2 heavyweights from the UK. They're talking about putting it in Los Angeles.
Why would you fight
Los Angeles? And this is what I love about how they're full of it. They constantly talk about giving the fans what they want. So rather than put it in the 80,000 seat or whatever Wembley Stadium, they're going to move it to Los Angeles, perhaps. It's not definite. but who gives a darn? And if I'm in England, this is the biggest fight in the history of the UK. It would be, to see live. If I'm a fan in the UK, I don't travel to LA. I say, screw you guys. I'll watch it on TV. I'll stay up for it. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch the fight take place, 4 in the morning or whatever time it comes on UK time. But screw you. I'm not giving my support flying to LA. And I don't think the people in LA, it's going to exactly catch on. But this is a power struggle with Dana White and Eddie Hearn. We'll talk about it tonight.
Any of the Hall of Famers you want to touch on the new Hall of Fame class?
No, well, the newest class, Antonio Tarver, Nigel Benn, Gennady Golovkin, who got in. Congratulations to those guys for getting in the Hall of Fame this past weekend. Yesterday, getting inducted.
I'm sure you hear more boxing. Well, some boxing tonight, at least on Glove Fist. Once Jack gets through talking about, or Jack and Frank talk about whatever, the Knicks winning or whatever it might be. But so check Jack and Frank out tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see you again Friday morning at 8 a.m. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Jack, great show today. And
yeah, thanks to all you out there.
For sure. See you guys later. Bye-bye.